talk. I want to have a talk with all of you about doing your best. Many of you have done your best and you don't even know it, that you've done well. And so many times, hang on one second, I'm just popping this line with the knowledge and the wisdom that we had. I was upstairs in my closet praying, and I was actually getting ready for bed, which is why I'm looking the way I'm looking. So you just got to completely not pay attention to my head. But God just put it in my heart to go on here and encourage you all. Many of you are doing good, and you don't even know it. Many of you have just done your best, and it may not seem like it, because sometimes we can look at our results and we can be discouraged or disappointed. Let me make sure everyone is on here before I get to talking, because I was upstairs and I was thinking about a situation with my mother years before she passed away. And I'm going to share that story in just a minute. But let me just make sure that you all can hear me. I want to encourage you all. You're doing good, baby. And I know, because I'm getting all your messages. I know that at times it doesn't seem like it, because, it looks like, I'm not quite where I want to be at this point. Or, maybe you're a little discouraged by some things. Maybe you're doing well, but you feel you should be doing better. But baby, you got to remember, there's so many times in life where you have to remember that in those moments, I made the best decision I knew to make. So let me just see, can you all hear me? If you guys can hear me, I'm seeing some messages come up. Hang on a second here. Hello from San Antonio. I love your messages. You're awesome. Thank you, baby. Thank you, Aral. Let me just see here. I see Angela saying hello, Diana, Patricia, Carolyn. I can always count on Patricia and Carolyn to be in my lives. Patricia and Carolyn, faithful to God. I see you, Diana. Someone says, I need to talk to you. So I'm so glad that you all are able to join me. You guys know this stuff isn't planned. I was upstairs getting my butt ready for bed. I like to go in my closet and turn the lights off and close the door and just sit with God for a while. And I was just in there praying and thinking through some things. Let me just jump right into what I want to talk about, because the battery on my phone is like half gone, because I was not planning on going live. I was basically putting on pajamas and getting ready for bed. I need for you all to realize sometimes we're so hard on ourselves, and we have to give ourselves grace. We have to, baby. We have to. Please don't think that I don't go through it as well. I go through those moments as well. When I think through, the past, or think through where life is at, where things are at now, or sometimes you can fall into a trap of comparing. I know we don't say we compare, but sometimes we do. Sometimes that's just human nature. You can fall into a trap of comparing, looking at where everyone else is at. Everyone else is in their flow. Where's my flow? When am I going to get to my there? But let me share a story about my mom, because that's what I wanted to start with. I was upstairs in my closet and I was praying. And, I just sit in the dark and I just literally sit, at least to me, I'm sitting in the presence of God. And I just let him remind me of things. And I thought about my mom. She had been a single parent for many, many years. Well, her whole life. It wasn't until a couple years before she passed away that she finally got married. But she had been a single parent for many years. And if you all have read my book, Necessary, you already know a lot of the story behind that. But I'll never forget when she finally finished college. And it took her a good, I don't know, it had to be at least 12 years of going to college before she can get her bachelor's degree. We were on welfare, we grew up in poverty our whole lives, but she loved God. She was an amazing woman of God. But here's the point I want to get at, because I don't want to spend too much time on this part of the story. I'll never forget when my mom got her first job. She was a social worker. She took care of adults with disabilities. She absolutely loved taking care of adults with disabilities. And I'll never forget when, I remember it like it was yesterday, because we were living in the projects, and she had done her best to put a nice outfit together for work. And I remember she had like these, it almost looked like black stretch pants leggings. It really wasn't leggings, but it kind of fit her and it looked like it was leggings. And she had on her, whatever blouse. And she was so proud to finally be going for her very first job. And, single mom, 3 kids. And you guys know all the abuse and stuff she went through and things I witnessed as a child. If you've read my book, Necessary, some chapters I can't even read, and you guys know why, because she went through a tremendous amount of abuse. But anyway, I'll never forget when she came home from work that very first day. And I was so excited to see her. I was young myself, but I just remember being so excited to see her coming through the door. And I remember the look on her face, and she just looked so distraught. And she was just in tears. And I just remember her saying, when she was in a conference room at whatever company she was at, I guess one of the managers said something to her afterwards and said, "You should know better than to come to work with some stretch pants on. You're a professional now, you need to act like it." And however the lady talked to her, she didn't show her much grace. And I just remember the look of defeat on my mom's face. You know how sometimes you can have memories where you just think back a long time ago, you know? And and there was nothing I can do. I mean, I was young myself, but I just thought about that, and I thought my mother felt like such a failure in that moment. She felt so defeated, and I'll never forget the look on her face. And she was just like, you know, and then what's sad about it, it's not like we had money for her to go and buy a suit or something. And I wish I could tell my mom now, my mom is, since then passed away, but I wish I could go back to that moment and say, "Mama, you've done well. You had these three kids and you went to college, and you walking through the snow carrying grocery, back and forth trying to do everything you needed to do to take care of your kids and keep us out of abusive relationships." And I wish I can go back to that moment and say, "Mama, you've done well." I don't even know why I'm sharing this story, but it was coming to me when I was upstairs in my closet, because I think what brought it on is you all know I lost my son. And sometimes when I'm in my house and I pass by his room, sometimes I think through moments when I wish I would have done something different. Can anyone relate to that? You know, those moments where you're like, I think through like, I don't want to go through specifics because I think I'll get to crying in a minute, but I just think through moments. And I definitely, I know I was a good mom and I loved my son and did my best to take care of him. But there are just those moments where I'm like, man, I wish I would have done better in this situation. Or and then I have to remind myself, Z, hold on. You have raised four beautiful adults. Four. You have been through a lot yourself. Baby, we won't even get into talking about all the stuff I've gone through in my marriage and with finances and with the health of my child. And if you all have read my book, you know what I'm talking about. And I had to literally be reminded, and I'm so glad that God reminded me, because I was up in my closet and I was just having a moment, and I'm so glad that God reminded me, "My daughter, you've done well. You've done well." And so I thought about, I was getting ready to go to bed, and out of the blue, God just put in my heart, "Now you need to give this message to my people." And so I want to tell somebody on this live. I know I'm talking a lot, you guys. We family at this point. So if you got to go to bed, just go to bed. This live will be saved on my Instagram and on my YouTube by tomorrow anyway. But I want to tell you, baby, you've done well. Oh, baby, I'm sorry. Someone said they lost their daughter 20 months ago. I'm sorry, baby. Someone said, "Z, I always find your lives at the exact moment I need them." Baby, maybe I'm live just for you. You know, I know there's always someone in the life that needs to hear it. But you've done well. And it's okay that life may not be where you want it to be right now. It's okay. That don't mean that you failed at things. It really is okay. Thank you for the roses, baby. Thank you. Thank you. What I've noticed that a lot of, I've led enough small group discussions. I've led many, many, many small group discussions for like 15 weeks and 30 weeks at a time. I've led enough of those discussions to realize on the outside, it looks like everybody has it together, but baby, everybody to some degree feels like they've fallen short. Thank you, baby. Thank you for, what is that, lightning or something? Thank you for that, baby. Thank you so much. Everybody goes through that. Everybody does. That's why I wanted to start the story off with my mom. Thank you, Denise, baby. Thank you. So I want to read for you guys just a little bit. Oh my goodness, you guys are sending all these gifts and hearts and things. I don't even know what they all are, but thank you, thank you, thank you. I think that's on my TikTok feed. I want to read a little bit from a chapter that I really kind of stay away from. And that's chapter 18. So if you all have your book necessary, turn to chapter 18 real quick. I'm not going to keep you too long. Now, I always say I'm not going to keep you too long, and I end up staying live longer than I wanted. But I can't keep you too long because my battery's going to go out probably in about 20 or 30 minutes. So chapter 18 is a very difficult chapter, and I'm not going to read it through. The title of that chapter is called Horseback Ride. And for those of you who've read my book, you already know what happened in that chapter, and it details some abuse that I went through as a young child when there was someone in our home. And situation that happened, and I didn't tell my mom about it. I didn't want her to get beaten again, and it was just a very difficult chapter. But pick up, just listen to a little bit of this. I want to read. I want to read the affirmation. Remember, each chapter starts with an affirmation, and then remember, each chapter ends with recommended reading. Then there's homework assignments. I don't even like using the word homework, but it's really self-reflective questions. But listen to this, because I think this may be a little bit of medicine for somebody. This is chapter 18. You all can read along with me for those who have my book necessary. And I'm just reading the affirmation right now. I forgive myself. I made the best decisions I knew to make with the wisdom, knowledge, and courage I had at that time. But now I am wiser. I am stronger. And what happened in the past shall never happen again. I won't feel guilty for what I didn't know. I won't feel discouraged because I wasn't strong enough. I won't be angry with myself any longer. I've moved on to higher grounds, and what happened in my past shall never hinder me no more, shall hinder me no more. I forgive myself. I forgive me, and now I am ready to live. Now, that's the affirmation for that chapter. I might read just a tiny bit through it. I got to be careful because I don't want to read certain things in here and have someone experience a situation that maybe you can relate to without maybe having a counselor or someone present, because this is a very, very deep chapter. But the reason I wanted to start off with the affirmation is sometimes we have to forgive ourselves and be gracious to ourselves. Yes, we've made decisions in the past that we may not be that happy with. Yeah, we've probably had things happen to us in our past and we wish we would have handled it differently. I know I'm not the only one who feels that. When I think back to some of the things I allowed to happen, and I'm like, man, why wasn't I stronger? Or why wasn't I courageous enough to speak up or say something? Or why did I let that person treat me that way? Or why did I let that person get away with treating me in that moment the way that person did? But the healing part of this, you all, just listen to me a second. The healing part is I remind myself I made the best decisions I knew at that time with the wisdom and the knowledge and with the courage that I had in that moment. And while I can't go back and change it, I can move forth and make better decisions as I'm moving forth in life. God has strengthened me. I'm more courageous now. Hang on a second here. I think I lost my thing because my connection is going down on one of my feeds. But you get my point. We can't go back and change it, and that's okay, baby. Someone is saying, what you just read, how do I get the book? Hang on one second, baby, because I think I got a connection issue on this one, and they're trying to get back to me. My book is available on Amazon. It's called Necessary as a paperback, and it's also on my website at Zenja Glass as an audiobook and as a video book. You guys, hang on one second. I want to make sure. Well, I guess there's nothing I can do with this other live because it looks like it paused. But does that make sense to anyone? Let me read some of these notes. I'm reading a lot of comments coming through. Someone is saying, amen, this is so good. One time I lived in regret, but God set me free. Yeah. And this isn't even about just living in regret. This is also a moment of just looking at where life is at right now. And sometimes you get discouraged because you wish you would have made better decisions so you can be further along in the moment. Can anyone relate to that? I'm seeing a whole lot of hearts come through on that one. Hang on one second here, you guys. I think I lost my connection on one of the platforms, so you guys got to bear with me because they're trying to get to me, poor things, and they can't get to me right now because the live ended for them. So I may have to go live again for them a later time because I don't want to fool with this too much. But anyone can relate to that. Someone says sometimes it's so hard to move forward. Yes. Someone says, I haven't watched lives in a while. I'm so glad I'm watching now. I wish I had time to read through, hang on a second here. There's just some issues with this live. You guys got to give me a second. I wish I had time to read through my chapter that's called If Greatness Could Speak. I've read through that chapter a couple times. So for those of you who have my book, make sure you read that chapter about If Greatness Can Speak. But I want to read a little bit more in chapter 18. And I normally don't do that, but I'm just gonna dance around it just a little bit. So I'm gonna skip past a very difficult part in here that I really don't want to talk about openly online, at least not right now until I just seek some more wisdom in this. But I'll pick up from when a situation happened, a very bad situation, and I didn't say anything, to my mother or anything about what had happened. And then let me pick up here. I just want to pick up to a little bit about my mom. Okay. So I think I can start here from page 214. And this chapter is called Horseback Ride. And again, I wasn't really planning on reading much through this, but I'll just read a little bit and I'll try my best to be careful so that I don't trigger anyone. But hopefully this will encourage you a little bit. My mother was a young teenager when she gave birth to me. Unfortunately, her mother passed away as a young woman. And without much guidance from a mother figure in her life, it was no surprise my mama became pregnant at a very young age. After one experience with a man in the military who wanted to meet her in the back of a truck on a warm fall day. In essence, she was a child, raising a child. And she did her very best to raise her children with the wisdom and courage she had at that time. After my mother gave birth to me, she discovered one of my aunts had already named me, and I won't go into that. But my mother, to this day, well, she's gone now, but never knew how to pronounce my name. Despite the fact that she was constantly in and out of abusive relationships in her younger years, she was a very loving mother who always taught her children about God. She had a huge heart and would always find a way to give to others. I would not have traded my mother for anyone in the world. She loved hard and everyone knew it. Many years, my mother not only became a licensed social worker, but a licensed minister as well. Now, I got to dance around in this chapter a little bit because for those of you who already have my book, Necessary, you know I skipped past some very, very, very rough patches that I just don't kind of want to go in right now. Then it goes on to talk about, situation with my biological father. He only lived literally about 2 or 3 blocks away from me, but I never met him. And I never even saw his face. And so it goes on to talk about how I used to drive past his mailbox just to see my name on it. But I literally never saw his face and never met him until I was an adult. But I thought through, and this is another reason why I wanted to go live in this. I thought through all of the decisions I've made in life. Some of the decisions I've made even in my younger years, even in relationships, and how some of those decisions, unfortunately, was tied to what I experienced with my mom growing up. And sometimes you think through, gosh, why did I allow that to happen? Why did I allow myself to go through that? Why did I allow myself to be treated that way? But I am realizing I've got to show myself grace. I've got to give myself grace and know that I made the best decisions in that moment. So that's what I want to encourage you all with. No matter what you are going through right now, let me see if I can get this other live going again. No matter what you're going through and no matter where life is at right now, I want you to start showing yourself some grace. Showing yourself some grace. Okay, let me see here. I see a lot of comments coming through. Someone says the name of your book. The name of my book is called Necessary, Baby. Someone says, wow, I can relate to this so much. Yes. And I actually, and who is that? Is that Tanika? I actually bounced around quite a bit because I didn't want to read too much into that chapter. Someone says, working to forgive myself. I understand, baby. I understand. Let me see here. There's some more feeds coming through. Someone says, that's hard for me. Someone says, wow, Z, his loss. Okay, thank you, baby, for saying that. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I want to read just a little bit from, let me see here. If you guys have the book, my book, let's turn just really quickly to chapter 20. You guys turn to page 232. And while you're doing that, I'm going to do my best one last time, just one last time to try to get this this feed going on this other one because I was live for them as well. And unfortunately, the live is just not happening for them. So this will be the last time I try. Someone says, where can I find your books? I'm going to need you guys to help me out. When people are asking that, just let them know that Necessary can be found on Amazon as a paperback. And it's also on my website at Zenja Glass as an audiobook. So let's turn to, what chapter did I say, you all? Let's turn to chapter 20. If Greatness Can Speak, and that's on page 232. I know I've read this a couple times, but for whatever reason, God is putting it in my heart to turn back here again. And that's on page 232. Let's turn to If Greatness Could Speak. This chapter just resonates with me so well because I never knew that greatness was inside of me and that greatness was calling out. And so I love reading it. I've read it so many times, but I just want to read it again. And then I'm going to see if you guys have some questions for me before I get my butt on the bed. But I want to read a little bit from chapter 20 of Greatness Can Speak. The reason I want to read this is because I know that there has to be someone, because I've been seeing all the messages, someone who's just feeling like, busy, life is just not where I want it to be right now. And I'm working so hard and I'm putting so much effort into this thing, whatever it is, and it's just not taking off. Or, or when is it going to be my turn? Or I'm feeling like, man, I felt myself. Or I've heard some people say, I feel like, I'm feeling even with my family or my children because I want more for them and I'm not able to give more. Well, I want you to be reminded, baby, that greatness is always inside of you, always there. It never left you. And you got to realize you may be doing your best. You may have done your best. I really believe for the most part, when we think through the things and the decisions we've made in the past, we made the best decisions we knew to make at that time. Get this, with the wisdom and the knowledge and the courage that we had in that time. So we're not going to sit and dwell on the past. We're going to move forward. Now, let me read to you a little bit from If Greatness Can Speak. So those of you who have my book Necessary, I'll read a little bit from chapter 20. I'm just going to read the affirmation, okay? You guys still with me here? I see someone saying that's me. I see someone saying God bless you too. All right, baby. I'm just going to read a little bit because one of my live feeds. Let me just try one last time to fix this. One of my live feeds has just completely ended, so I don't know how to get that. Oh, now I see my Give me 1 second, you guys. Now I see. The Wi-Fi connection is off, and I can't remember the passwords because my kids set it up a long time ago. So unfortunately, I just won't be able to be live on that platform. All right, I'm going to go ahead and read If Greatness Could Speak. So you guys, I'm going to read the affirmation. This is chapter 20, the affirmation, If Greatness Could Speak. I am sorry you had to endure many hardships and dig deep valleys to find me, for I do not lay atop the soil. I waited patiently as I watched you search for me in relationships, careers, and affirmations from others. I'm sorry you did not recognize me when you looked in the mirror and doubted yourself, your talents, and your abilities. I'm sorry you did not hear my whispers when you felt powerless. I was there through every setback you experienced, every trial and tribulation, every painful, discouraging moment of your life. And I was there when you didn't believe in yourself. I was always there, waiting for you to discover me. I was there when you felt you couldn't go another day. I was there when everyone you thought you could depend on turned around and walked away. I wrapped myself around you and held you closely on the days you felt the pain was unbearable. I never let you go. I never lost my grip, and I never will. At last you have found me. At last you have discovered I was always within you. I pray that that encouraged someone tonight. Don't go to bed tonight, baby, thinking that you failed or thinking that things are never going to turn around. Don't go to bed allowing the enemy that kind of victory in your life. Greatness has always been within you, baby. And I just want to lift somebody's spirit real quick, just to understand and know greatness has always been there. I see some messages coming through. Someone says it's hard to find like-minded people. Daniel says, I love it. I'm glad that that encouraged you. I'm glad that that encouraged you. For those who are just joining, my name is Zenja Glass. Call me Z. I'm just reading a little bit from my book, Necessary. I was actually starting off reading chapter 18, which is a pretty difficult chapter called Horseback Ride. That was a chapter that detailed some abuse and some things I went through. But then I just read a little bit about If Greatness Could Speak. And let me see here if I'm going to read just a little bit more before I close this live out. Who remember the chapter that I read the night before last? Was that the chapter? Did I read through God Can Do More with Less? Did I read that one through? Because if I didn't, I want to read a little bit about God Can Do More with Less. The reason why I want to read a little bit from that one, that's chapter 7. I didn't realize. Well, let me back up a little bit. All of my life, I always thought I was smart enough to figure out a way to work out a situation in my life. So if I was going through financial situations, I thought, well, I'm a hard worker, I'm smart, I can figure this out. God had to humble me and get me to such a low to where I realized that it was only by the grace of God I was going to be able to survive and make it. Now, if you all read my book, you know what I'm talking about. But that chapter, God Can Do More with Less, that's when it really dawned on me. I never really got this. That's when it really dawned on me. I didn't know that God can do so much more with less. And that's when I began to discover the story of Gideon. And you guys know that story with Gideon, when God lowered his army down from, what was it, like 32 or 33,000 men? Remember that? And lowered it down to only 300. And they still won the war. But how did they win that war? They won the war because it wasn't that he needed more soldiers, baby. He needed the Lord's strategy. And so God, when he began to, have my business fail and my marriage fail and finances fail, and at that time, that's when my son was, slowly starting to die. We lost him. So when I was going through all of that, I was just like, you got to be kidding that I don't even have enough for you to do anything with. And that's when I began to sit in that secret place with God, and he began to reveal to me, oh, baby, I can do so much more with less. I can do so much more. That's why I'm so in love with that story with Gideon. I think it's in Judges 6 and 7. I know I got to be talking to somebody that this is going to help. But I'm in love with that story because Gideon thought he needed all those soldiers. And even with all those soldiers, he still looked like he couldn't win the war because he didn't have enough. But I love what God said in, I think it's Judges 6 or Judges 7. You guys can go to it and read it. When he told him the reason why I'm lowering your army down. Did you hear what I just said? I should have brought my Bible downstairs with me. When he told him the reason why he lowered the army down, he says, I don't want you to think, I'm paraphrasing, I don't want you to think when I bring you into this victorious land, when I do what I'm about to do, I don't want you to think you got there by your own might. My God. I don't want you to think you got there on your own. I want the praise and glory to go to me. I'm paraphrasing. That's basically what God told him. And so in this chapter, God Can Do More with Less, I want to read a little bit from it. It just reminds me, my goodness, even when life seems to be like, my goodness, Z, but you don't understand my situation. You don't understand how tight things are, or how I don't even understand next month how I'm going to be able to, make it or do whatever I got to do, because I get those messages too. Even in that, are you aware that God can do so much more with less? He can give you one idea. You spend that secret time with him, praying with him and sitting with him. Baby, I'm a living witness, which is why I'm able to say this. So let me just slow down a little bit. I'm a living witness because I've been through this, because God brought my little prideful butt down to a low, lower than I couldn't even pick myself up, right? And he worked through situations in my life. And with the little bit I had, I think I was down to my last like $150, $200. It wasn't even that much. And when God gave me a strategy in my secret place, when I had my little butt up there in the closet praying, gave me a strategy and told me, I want you to do this and I want you to do that. If you all listen to my podcast, you know, most of you know I have a podcast called Unlocking Greatness Podcast with Zenja Glass. Find the podcast called, you guys know the title. I think it's called My Testimony. Go to my YouTube page and you can look it up and find that one on My Testimony. That'll save me from talking for the next 30 minutes because it'll walk you through. I think it was a My Testimony, then it was a My Testimony Part 2. And it will walk you through real life situations that happen where I'm like, God, this don't make sense. I don't have the money for that. How you gonna be able to bless and do this when I don't even know how I'm gonna pay my kids' school fees? And God began to walk me through this. So anyway, let me read a little bit from God Can Do More with Less, and I'm going to get my butt off of this live and take my butt to bed. So let me read chapter 7. For those of you who have my book Necessary, I want you all to read with me a little bit. And I don't know what part I'm going to read from it, but let's turn over to chapter 7. And by the way, there's 24 chapters in this book, for those who are not aware. So chapter 7, I want to start with the affirmation again. I'm seeing a ton of comments come through. I'm going to be keeping you in prayer, sis. Thank you, baby. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You're a blessing. Thank you for sharing your gift from God. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Someone says, same here. I'm trying and everything I just don't see. Someone says, listening to you now, Z, gives me hope. I'm so happy to hear that, baby. That's why God calls us to walk by faith and not by sight. Your message is so powerful. I'm so glad that you guys are being encouraged by this. So turn to chapter 7. Let's just read the affirmation and we'll bounce around a little bit. Because again, I'm not going to be live for too long. But this is God can do more with less. And I wouldn't even plan on reading from this chapter, but let's just do it. This is the affirmation. My bank account balance does not get to determine my destiny. Did you hear that? Can I read that again? Especially for the person that just said she don't know what she's going to do. My bank account balance does not get to determine my destiny because God can do so much more with less. When he tells me to move forth, I will move because he provides my provisions along the way. Therefore, I won't worry about how he is going to make it happen. I won't worry about not having enough. He leads me along green pastures. He overflows my cup. He is my way maker. He has never failed me and he never will. Now I'm in chapter 7 now. If you all have my book, I'm in chapter 7 on page 84. I'm just gonna read a little bit and we'll just see how much I'm able to get through. Did you know that God can do more with less? Are you aware that he specializes in doing the impossible? One of my favorite stories in the Bible is the story of Gideon in the book of Judges, chapter 6 and 7. I love this story because Gideon doubted his ability to save Israel. His clan was the weakest in Manasseh, and he viewed himself as the least in his family. That's Judges 6:15. Somebody put that in the comment, please. Judges 6:15. Like many of us, Gideon wasn't certain God would do what he said he would do. Gideon needed signs from God because he just couldn't see how God would show up and do the impossible in his life. Can anyone relate to that? Let me see some of the comments here. Okay, I'm seeing some of the comments come through. I guess you all can relate to this. Okay, all right. Can you relate to trusting in God's abilities, but at the same time, not being sure if he would do it for you? Now I'm gonna pause a second on that. Anybody ever felt that way? Because I have. You know, I trust in God. I know him and I believe he can do it. But there's a difference between, and I'm not preaching at nobody, by the way. I'm just sharing my heart and my mess, just so you know, all of my mess. I've learned from my mess, there's a difference between trusting that he can do it and that he will do it for me. And I didn't really realize that there was a difference. So if anyone can relate to that, I'm seeing a lot of comments come through. So can anyone relate to trusting in God's abilities, but at the same time, not being sure if he would do it for you? I certainly can. But what is so amazing about God is that he understands our weakness. In Judges 6, chapter 6, verse 36 through 40, God honored Gideon's request and gave him a sign that he would be victorious by allowing dew to appear on the wool fleece on the threshing floor. Now, you guys can go to that and read that on your own. But basically, Gideon was like, you got to give me a sign. Like, I don't see how this is going to happen. So I'm sorry I'm asking this, but God, you got to give me a sign that you can really do this. And so they kind of went back and forth when God was giving him some signs. But that wasn't enough for Gideon. He needed another sign from God. He said, and I quote, this is Gideon, "Do not let your anger burn against me so that I may speak only one more time. Please let me put you to the test one more time with the fleece." And he went on to say, "Let it now be dry only on the fleece, and let there be dew on all the ground." And God did so that night. For it was dry only on the fleece, and dew was on all the ground. That's in Judges 6:39 through 40. For those who are just joining, I'm reading from my book, Necessary. This chapter is called God Can Do More with Less. And this story, well, it gives a lot of stories in this chapter, but one of the parts of this chapter is the story of Gideon. How he had so much less, and look what God did in his life. Now I'm going to jump down just a little bit on page 85. My favorite part of the story of Gideon lies in Judges 7 because God did what no one expected to happen. He strategically began to remove soldiers from Gideon's army. The Lord told Gideon he had too many men to deliver Midian into their hands. Now that's Judges chapter 7, verse 2. Someone write that down. Keep in mind, according to many Bible scholars, Gideon's army was already considered small, and he was already outnumbered by the people he was about to fight. Yet God told him he had too many people. Let's pause there for a moment. I just want to talk to you guys for a minute. Let's pause there for a moment. Doesn't that remind you of this chapter in my book called Strange Favor? Remember we talked about that, and I'm not going to turn to strange favor right now. But the strange favor that God sometimes sends. And we're freaking out like, what in the world? And we don't even realize because it didn't come wrapped with nice bows and stuff. Remember in that chapter I talked about strange favors? Because it came looking like a problem, right? This so reminds you, doesn't it, of that chapter in my book called Strange Favor. Why on earth would God tell him, you have too many people? I'm going to read that verse again. Keep in mind, according to many Bible scholars, Gideon's army was already considered small, and he was already outnumbered by the people he was about to fight. Yet God told him he had too many people. Now pause for a moment and ask yourself this question. Why on earth would the Lord reduce Gideon's army from 32,000 men to only 300 men before going into war? That just don't make any sense. That number would have been considered laughable to go against such a vast army. Does that make any sense to you at all? What was the point of reducing Gideon's army? Why not just let them march into the war and give them victory with the larger version of his army? Why give them less to do more? I'm going to pause on that for a moment. And I'm hoping you're thinking through your situation right now. Oh, Susie just said it to show his power. Thank you, Susie. Thank you. Can anybody think through a situation in their life right now where it seems like God is giving you less? He's reducing that army down. Now, you could be going through a season of pruning, which you know that's a chapter in my book, or a season of being hidden. That's a whole nother chapter in here. Sometimes God hides you. I know it feels like a punishment, but he's really hiding you to prepare you. I won't even get into that. But isn't that just amazing? Isn't that just amazing? Why give him less to do more? God could have easily just had Gideon march his butt right on into that war. Just think about that for a moment. See, when I read scriptures in the Bible, and you know, people get mad when I say this, but I'm not a licensed minister. I'm just a woman that loves God with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. And God knows, you guys have seen my Bible many times. It ain't too many pages that's not all marked up. But I love when I read it, because when you read your Bible, what you really should be doing, let me not tell you what you should be doing. Let me tell you what I do, because I don't think I get to tell you what you should be doing. What I do when I look at the Bible is I don't just look at the story, I look at the pattern. And I look at what is the underlying story in this? Why did God reduce his army to turn around and give him a strategy and have him win that war with only 300 men? When he started off with about 32 or 33,000. And then, hold on, I take it a step further and I think, so is there a season in my life where I can relate to that? And some of you may be able to relate to that right now. A season where it's like, I don't have nothing. Remember that lady in 2 Kings chapter 6? Remember we talked about her? The widow. Was it in 2 Kings chapter 6? No. 2 Kings chapter 6 was the one about Elisha when the army was coming against him, and his servant completely freaked out and said, what are we going to do? You know, that's when the king of Aram was coming against him. And in 2 Kings chapter 6, Elijah prayed, open his eyes so that he can see. You know, it was the other king, I think the first king is when we talked about the woman with the widow's oil. But remember in 2 Kings chapter 6, when we talked about that just the other day, that God had to open his eyes so that he can see. Because in the physical, when we look at our situation, think about this for a moment. In the physical, it's like, I don't have enough money to do this. I don't see how this ideal or this project is going to get off the ground. I don't see, God, how I'm going to be able to work this situation out, right? That's kind of what was going on with Gideon. So when I read my Bible, I don't just look at it as, oh, this is a nice story about a man in the war. No. I look at it like, whoa, so what is that telling me? Oh, that's telling me that God can do more with less. So let's look on a little bit more. I'm seeing a ton of comments come through, but I'm going to, let me see here. Someone says, please remember to like the video messages to reach as many people as possible. Thank you, Joanne, for saying that. I guess I should tell people that. I don't know how that all works with algorithms and whatnot. But someone just said, like and share the video so more people can read it. Thank you, baby. Thank you. So the Lord said to get, I'm on page 85 for my book, Necessary, right now. I don't know, you guys, when I get to talking about God, I just become a whole nother person. I just love it. So page 85 says, the Lord said to Gideon, you have too many men. I cannot deliver Midian into their hands, or Israel would boast against me and quote, say, my own strength has saved me, my God. Now announce to the army, anyone who trembles with fear may turn back and leave Mount Gilead. So 22,000 men left while 10,000 remained. Now, I'm not going to read through the rest of that, but they didn't leave off with even 10,000 men. He went on and had them basically go to some water and dip and get water a certain kind of way. And when they did that, he had all of those men go home. And he only kept 300. So you're down to 300 men. I want you to think about that for a moment. I wouldn't even plan on reading this chapter, but I know that there must be somebody that needs to be hearing this. You started with 33,000. You already know you don't have enough to do what you've got to do. So just relate this to your own life. God now has lowered it down to, what is it now? Judges chapter 7, verse 2 through 3. You guys can put that passage in there. He then lowered it down to 10,000. So whatever you thought you had and you knew that wasn't enough, just follow me. Now God has lowered it down to 10,000 soldiers. Now you know you ain't got enough, right? And then God did something that we just did not expect to happen. He turned around and lowered the man's army down to 300 people. He said, because I don't want for you to boast when I get you to where I'm taking you. I'm going to tell you guys something. I know I'm drifting. You guys know I'll go left field and come back. But I got to say this, and I'm confessing this, so consider this a confession. God hates pride. And God will work with us until he can get that pride dealt with in us. God had to bring me to such a low, baby. He had to bring me to such a low. Now, I love God. I've always gone to church and read my Bible. Just about everybody in my family is a minister or a deacon or something, right? And in the moments, you couldn't have told me I was walking in pride. But it's only in hindsight that I see that when God had to strip me of so much, he had to strip me and bring me to such a low. And I thank God that he didn't give me what I wanted at the time I wanted it. Because I know me enough. I'm not speaking about you. I know me enough to know I would have thought that I did something to get myself there. Now, I know I would have gave God some praise and been like, glory to God, and that, but I know me enough to know he had to strip me down first. And this is what was happening with Gideon. Look how he just stripped him down. And then here's another one I want to read through. Let me just go to another part. So I'm in God Can Do More with Less. I'm in my book Necessary, page 86. You guys got me going. I got to read one more passage, and then I'll close my mouth. God specializes in doing more with less. And he never sees us as we see ourselves. He sees who we are in his presence. Notice when the angel of the Lord first approached Gideon and said, the Lord is with you, mighty warrior. And that's in Judges 6:12. Someone write that down. That's NIV version. I can only imagine Gideon looking around and thinking to himself that surely the angel wasn't talking to him. What mighty warrior, me? In fact, his response was, and this was Gideon's response, pardon me, my Lord, Gideon replied, but if the Lord is with us, why has all this happened to us? Did somebody catch that? Now, for those who are just joining, you really got to get this point, and then you can go to bed. So listen to me. I'm reading from Judges chapter 6, verse 12. Judges chapter 6, 12 and 13. Well, I'm reading my book Necessary, but I'm quoting this passage. When the angel came to Gideon, the angel said, the Lord is with you, mighty warrior, which is what I'm saying to you right now, baby. The Lord is with you. Gideon's response was, pardon me, my Lord. If the Lord is with us, why has all this happened to us? Please catch that. You're not alone when you sometimes feel like, God, where you at? If you with me, then why am I going through all of this? Because it just don't make sense in the moment, baby. That's why I referenced my chapter called Strange Favor, hoping that somebody would go and read it. Read that chapter. So he says, pardon me, my Lord. He says, if the Lord is with us, why has all this happened to us? He went on to say, where are all his wonders that our ancestors told us about when they said, did not the Lord bring us up out of Egypt? But now the Lord has abandoned us. This is Gideon still talking. I'm still in the middle of the quote. Listen, I'm still in the middle of quoting this. But now the Lord has abandoned us and given us into the hand of Midian. So he already figured that they lost the war. It didn't start just yet, but he's just like, the Lord has already abandoned us. He's saying, if he's with us, then why are we going through all of this? But notice the angel didn't look at that. The angel called him a mighty warrior. My God. Can you find yourself in that statement? Do you see how we can sometimes respond to God when we have suffered for a long time? Do you see how Gideon's response was based on his perspective? He questioned God's presence because he could not fathom how could God be with them when they were in dark seasons, enduring long suffering. Oh my God, I can relate. And considered the least of all. I would be lying to you if I said I couldn't relate to what Gideon was feeling at that moment. There certainly have been times in my life when I wonder where God was and how could he be present when I was going through trials and tribulations. If you read all of Judges 6 and 7, you will find many gems that you should carry for a lifetime. For me, one of the greatest treasures from this book in the Bible is when I discovered that Gideon did not need more to win the war. He only needed the Lord's strategy. Now, I'm not going to read through the rest of that, but then I started talking about verses 16 through 22 when God gave him a strategy. And God basically had them spread around the camp, banging like some jars with some sticks and stuff, making loud sounds. It was a strategy that God gave them. So even though it was only 300 of them, to the camp that they were surrounding, it seemed as if there was like tens of thousands of them. And so God gave them a strategy. And that strategy called the army, the vast army they were going against, it caused that army to turn on themselves. And you can go ahead and read the whole story. Get your Bible and read it yourself. But they basically won the war with only 300 people. So again, remember I said earlier, when I look at the Bible, I always try to look at the story for what it is, because you don't want to just pick out one little passage and make a whole thing from it. And then I try to look at the pattern, and then I try to relate it to my life. And that's what helps me get through those seasons of, oh my goodness, God specializes in doing more with less because it's sprinkled all throughout the Bible. The secret for me is sitting with him and getting his strategy. Sitting with him and getting his strategy. You guys, I was working myself to death when I was going through some tremendous financial crisis for years and years and years. I'm talking working to the wee hours of the morning every single night, trying to figure out how I was going to take care of my kids, take care of my family. I'm someone that's worked since I was 13 years old. So working don't bother me, baby. It comes natural. I was working myself to death. I was tired. Raising kids, trying to take care of all of that, and back and forth to the hospital with one of my sons. It wasn't until I finally was able to sit with him when God stripped everything away from me. And he began to give me these strategies that made no sense whatsoever. No sense whatsoever. And he began to tell me, here's what I want you to do now. And I would say, but God, I don't have the money to do that. He would say, walk in my favor and do what I told you. Now, again, you can go to my YouTube channel and you can look up that video called My Testimony. And then you can see what I'm talking about because I don't want to keep you guys on here forever. But I just want to encourage you all. I know I did a lot of talking and there's so many comments coming through right now. I just want to encourage you all. God can do so much more with less. And no matter what you're going through right now in life, baby, please do not be hard on yourself and give yourself some grace to know that you have done well. And I know it may not always feel like it. I know. Especially when you're old. I'm well in my 50s. So especially when you're maybe a little bit older in life and you feel like, man, I should be further along at this point, Some things should have happened by now. But baby, you got to realize you made the best decisions you knew to make at those moments. And God still can show up and show out. The secret is sitting with him. And that's why I'm just going to keep sort of gently pushing you a little bit. Sit with him. You may say, well, Z, I'm really not that good at praying. I don't know what to say. Sit with him, baby. Well, Z, I don't know if the Lord liked me that much because I ain't really living like how I need to be. Well, repent and sit with him. Romans 3:23 teaches us all have sinned and fall short of the glory of God. All of us are messed up. In fact, I have a podcast episode. You guys should go and listen to it. It's called God Uses Messed Up People, or God Specializes in Using Messed Up People. And that's one of my favorite episodes. It's got to be at least a year and a half old, that podcast episode, but you guys should listen to it because I walk through all the people in the Bible. I mean, Moses, David, they did some messed up things that most people don't know about unless you're really deep in your scriptures and you know it. But he specializes in using messed up people like me. I ain't perfect. I was just in my closet talking to God. I said, God, you know I'm a mess on a good day. On a good day, I'm a mess. But I said, but God, show me how do I lift you before the nations? And how do I help your babies? And that's why I'm live right now, you guys. I'm live right now because when I do things like this ain't work to me, by the way. This ain't me selling and promoting a book either. Don't think, oh, she doing this to sell a book. No, 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 no. This actually brings me even closer to God. When I do things like that, it draws me closer to him. That's the secret. I'm trying to tell you guys if somebody would just pick that up. I'm seeing a ton of comments come through, but that's the secret. The secret is if you sit with him and you humble your little butt before him and you allow him to take over and do his will, and it's going to hurt and you're going to cry and you're going to be confused for a little bit. I get it. You're going to be uncomfortable a little bit, you know. We already done talked about that, especially if you read my book, Necessary. God knows, because I almost cursed out this one woman when she was telling me I need to seek God first and put him first in my life. I'm like, girl, if you don't get out my face, I'm doing my best to stay above water. And I do love God, but don't be coming to me about sitting and being in silence before God and listening to the Holy Spirit when I barely can keep my head above water. So at the time, I didn't understand. You know, and I'm best friends with her now, the lady that many, many years ago was getting me in the Bible study and telling me to sit and listen to the Holy Spirit. But my point is, it may be a little uncomfortable at first, but I'm trying to give you the secret, baby. That's why I'm here, because I need to have my butt in the bed. I'm trying to give you the secret. Sit with him. Go to him. Well, Z ain't living right. Start living right. Go to him as a broken vessel and sit before him. And I challenged you guys the other night, whoever was on my live. What did I tell you guys? I said, I challenge you to pray to God and say, God, show me, how do I lift you and how do I help your people? And I will do it. Ooh, when you do that kind of prayer, you will have your butt on a live late at night like me with a headscarf on, no makeup, glasses, looking a hot mess, trying to encourage people. You can't even see their face, and trying to encourage people to follow God and love him and trust in his way. He will have you doing some mess. When you're praying that prayer to him and you're serious about it and you says, God, just show me. Just show me. You've done so much for me, God. And God knows my life ain't perfect right now. For those who know me personally, you know some of the things I'm going through even in this moment. But I always just tell God, just show me, how do I lift you? What do you want me to do today, God? How do I lift you? And how do I help your babies? Meaning you guys, how do I help your people? And I was about to crawl my butt into bed. God's like, get on down there and go live. Somebody needs to hear this. So anyway, I have talked enough. Let me read these comments. There's so many comments coming through. Someone says, oh, yeah, confused and uncomfortable, definitely. I pray you take this in a loving way, Susie. That's a great spot to be in because you know that God is showing up and showing out and doing some things in your life. I've noticed every time in my life in that season when I'm pushing through extremely uncomfortable seasons or hard seasons I'm going through, it's never been easy in the moment. But every time when I'm pushing through it, God, it's almost as if God is putting new wine into new wineskin. Remember we talked about that? He can't put new wine in the old wineskin. So he literally had to strip me down. Very uncomfortable. My God, very uncomfortable. But he literally had to strip me down so he can then build me back up. But I'm going to be lifting you in prayer, Susie, just so you know. God, show me, how do I lift you and how do I help your people? Yes, that's what I would love for you to start praying. Someone says you are fearfully and wonderfully made. Keep seeking him. Amen. I needed this message. I'm blessed for it. And I pray God keeps using you. Thank you. I think it's Mimi. Thank you, Mimi. Someone says, hello, first time on. Well, welcome, Arian. I go live randomly at night. I wish I had a schedule in mind, but I just go live when God puts it in my heart that I need to get my butt on the live. But my name is Zenja Glass. Everyone calls me Z. I was just reading from my book, Necessary. Thank you all again for the reviews on Amazon. I do have to say that. Thank you for the roses, baby. But thank you all for tremendous reviews. If you only know how many times I cry sitting and reading all the reviews you guys have been putting up on Amazon. My book also is available on my website at Zenja Glass as an audiobook and as a video book. Oh, I wanted to say this too. I know a lot of you all are still on the waiting list for my mentorship program. Please don't think I'm ignoring you. I'm not. I'm changing the platform and just doing a few things differently. So if you go to zenjaglass.com and you get on the wait list, just know that I will be doing my very best, maybe later this week, no later than next week, God willing, to begin reaching out to people, to have some more people come into my my mentorship, but I know a lot of you have been waiting. I've got such a great group of people that I mentor. On Mondays, I do personal development, and on Wednesdays, I meet with entrepreneurs and business owners, and I just love it. I love it. I love it. They are changing. They're growing leaps and bounds. I've seen women go from being so timid to having a podcast, launching their own apps. Oh my God, on Instagram and on TikTok, and launching their health fitness thing, and launching their coaching program. And it's just so good to see people go from one thing to another and seeing them grow. So I've really kind of sunk my teeth into this smaller group of people in my mentorship program right now. And I'm going to be opening it up to a few more people now pretty soon. So please be patient with me, because I know there's been a lot of people on my waiting list for a while. I am going to let some more people in, and I'm going to be putting up some video testimonies, because many of them have volunteered to give testimonies because their lives have changed tremendously. And I give all glory and honor and praise to God for that. Okay, so let me see here. Someone says, I love these lives, Z. Well, thank you, baby, because I know I'm looking a hot mess, but I just wanted to encourage someone. Thank you, Jesus, strip it all down. Yes, he will do it. He will do it. I'm seeing a lot more comments come through. Thank you for the encouragement and helping us to remember that we are human and still need God. That's right, baby. We all are a mess on a good day, am I right? Don't think I'm some religious woman who walk around praising God all day, every day. Well, I do pray pretty much all throughout the day, but even still, I mess up on a good day. And every day when I'm especially when I'm sitting in my closet at night, because I love to sit in my closet with the lights completely dark and just talk to God. I always pretty much have to start off with God, you know I messed up. Sorry for the way I talked to that person. I'm sorry for doing this. Lord, forgive me. You know what I mean? And sometimes I'll say, maybe I'm going too deep with you guys, but sometimes I'll say, okay, God, put me through that again. I'm gonna do better next time. Let me experience that again. Put me through that test again, or let me go through it again, and I'm gonna do better next time, God. I know I was wrong. Put me through it again. That's just a relationship I have with him. I just talk to him and say, okay, God, let me go through that situation. Even if it was a hard situation, I said, let me go through that again, because I got to change in this area. So yeah, we all mess up, baby, and I'm glad that you just said that. So anyway, I hope you guys have been encouraged. The whole theme of this was, you're doing good, baby. You're doing good. Don't dwell on everything that went wrong in the past. Give yourself some grace, okay? And realize you made the best decisions you knew to make at that time, with the wisdom, with the knowledge, and with the courage that you had. Uh, Learn to forgive yourself and be gracious to yourself, okay? All right. I see a few more coming through here. Someone says, thank you for being obedient to God and for hopping in this live, because it was a difficult day today and I needed to hear this. You encouraged me. Well, you've just encouraged me so much by even saying that, because God knows right now I would have my butt in the bed. In fact, tomorrow's Wednesday. I do another mentorship session, and I like to get some good rest the night before so I can be ready for them. But thank you. Someone says, praise the Lord. Thank you, Ms. Zenja, for your lovely and kind words. God bless you. And someone says, yes, I've been doing a lot. I just love this, such a beautiful reminder. You're doing good, baby. Give yourself grace. Yes. Someone says, I'm so sorry I missed this. I'll be at your next one. So this is going to be posted on my YouTube page. My handle on all of my channels is my name, Zenja Glass, first and last name. So if you just wait a few minutes, soon as I end this live, maybe it'll take a few minutes for YouTube to upload it, but just go to my YouTube page, click on the live thing, and you'll be able to see the whole live. So I'm going to be ending this. Let me just see if there was any last comments. Someone says, I'm already in Wednesday. Yes, yes, yes. Thank you, Z. Blessed as always. I feel so bad for the people who are still waiting to get in the mentorship, because some people have been waiting now for about 2 months. But I give you my word, I'm doing my best to get it back open. But anyway, I love you all. I pray you've been encouraged. For those who have just joined, I was just reading from my book, Necessary. And it is available on Amazon as a paperback and on my website at Zenja Glass, the audiobook. And I finally just released a video book. The video book was normally a part of my mentorship program by itself. Like, you couldn't get the video book. And the video book is me actually reading the book to you. But I now made it available just for anyone to go and get, instead of being exclusively in my mentorship. Someone says, we love you. Thank you, baby. Thank you, thank you, thank you. One thing I want to ask you guys, and I just thought about this today. I was looking through one of my social media channels, and someone was giving a review on the book. Anytime you give a review, first of all, thank you for the reviews. anytime if you give a video review, which I would love if you all do that, just to do a post and, tell the honest truth. If you like it, you like it. And if you don't, say you don't. But tag me on it. I want to be tagged because I don't want to miss any of those reviews. And every time I'm tagged on a video review of my book, you'll notice I'll go right into your site and talk to you right directly, thanking you. So please, you guys, if you do any type of a review, please, please, please tag me, especially if you're doing a video review on TikTok or Instagram or something, or maybe you're reading a little bit from one of the chapters. Just tag me so that I can go in there and thank you all. All right, I love you, I love you, I love you. Someone says we love you from Kenya. That is just absolutely amazing to me, that someone from Kenya is on here. We love you from London, UK. Oh my God. Love you guys. Love you, love you, love you. I'm going to do my best to go live as often as I can. Maybe in the evenings, maybe around this time. I'm going to do my best to get better at giving you an exact time. The problem that I have with that, and I know I got to be more disciplined, I don't really plan these moments. And I'm not trying to sound like some super religious woman, but I really don't. It's after I've prayed, sometimes God puts in my heart, I need you to go share this. Somebody needs to hear it. So I've got to find the balance between, okay, there's a schedule. They're expecting me for example, every Sunday at 5 p.m. And the balance between I need to go when God's telling me to go. So just be looking for, whatever. If you're part of my text community, that's important. If you look at the link in my bio, my text number is in every bio that you'll see. So if you join the text community, every time I go live, you'll get a message saying, hey, I'm going to be going live in the next 30 minutes or whatever. And that text number comes directly to my cell phone number. Anyone that's ever joined my text community, I'm actually the one that texts you back. And thank you, for joining my platform. So if you join my text community or if you join my email list, then you'll already know. Anyway, I love you guys. I'm going to get on the bed. Someone says you don't have to. We can click the bell and get notification. Oh, see, I didn't even know that. Well, there you go, baby. Click the bell and get notified. You teaching me something new. I didn't even know that. All right. I love you guys. Oh, you're welcome. Miss Gomez says, I'm so grateful for catching this live. Holy Spirit led. I love you guys. I pray you've been encouraged. Make sure you read back through those chapters. We didn't even do the homework. At the end of each chapter, you guys know that there's a recommended reading, and then there are assignment questions to do. So we didn't even get into that, but make sure you take your time, go through each of these chapters. As you all know, each chapter is a transformation journey, and there's not one chapter in this book, even though every chapter is pretty difficult, there's not one chapter in this book that's going to leave you on a down. It's always going to leave you on an up. And that's just the way that God designed it when he wrote it through me. But anyway, someone says, how do we become a part of your text community? If you just click on the link in my bio, you'll see it right there. It'll just say text, and all you do is text the word. I think the word is ready, READY. Soon as you text the word ready, you'll get an automated message from me immediately. But then, get this, within normally not even 12 hours, like whenever I see it that morning or that evening, I then personally text you and thank you for joining. So every single person that's joined my text community, you get that automated message first, but then the next message you're going to get is going to come directly from me. That's me literally sitting there texting you, thanking you for joining. And so that's the way sometimes I'm communicating back and forth with people. So I don't really know if people know that, but the text community number really does go directly to my phone. So anyway, I love you guys. I love you. I got to get off this live. Okay, bye-bye. Oh, thank you, Rosa. I see what you just said. Thank you. This was a God-sent message because I've been feeling guilty on my past decisions I've made in my life. Yeah. Hopefully, Rosa, you heard when I just read from the chapter, Horseback Ride. If you have my book, make sure you read that chapter again, because that's the chapter when I talked about I forgive myself, for the things that I allowed to happen or the things I didn't know, I didn't make better decisions. But I now know that I made the best decision I knew at that time. Someone says, I missed most of this, but I know it was fire. Rainey, it's going to be up on my YouTube channel in just a few minutes. As soon as I finish, I'm going to go ahead and upload it. All right, babe, I'm going to let you guys go. Love you. Bye-bye.